In January 2023, three newsrooms, The Guardian, the German weekly Die Zeit, and the investigative non-profit Source Material, published the results of a 9-month investigation. Their target was Verra, the organisation behind the world's most widely used carbon standard. What they reported sent a shock through the entire climate industry. After examining a large share of Verra's active rainforest projects, the investigation concluded that the overwhelming majority of the offset credits issued, more than 90% in the projects they analysed, were likely what they called phantom credits. Credits that did not represent real additional reductions in carbon emissions. In other words, a great deal of money had been spent on offsets that may have done little or nothing for the climate. If you run a business that buys offsets to meet your climate commitments, this is not an abstract problem. It means the carbon neutrality you paid for might not exist. And it means your brand could be exposed if the projects you funded are later discredited. So in this video, we are going to do 3 things. Explain exactly what went wrong, look at how bad it really got, and then give you a practical checklist for buying offsets that actually hold up. To understand the failure, you need to understand what these projects claim to do. The majority of Verra's rainforest credits came from a method known as avoided deforestation, often labelled REDD+. The logic goes like this. You take a forest that is supposedly under threat of being cut down. You estimate how much carbon would be released if that destruction happened. Then you sell credits representing the emissions you prevented by protecting it. A company buys those credits and claims them against its own footprint. The entire model rests on a single, fragile number. The baseline. How much deforestation would actually have occurred without the project? And here is the problem. That number is a prediction about a future that never happens. If you exaggerate the threat, you generate far more credits than the carbon you genuinely saved. The investigation found that many projects were built on inflated baselines. Some were protecting forests that faced little real danger of being cleared in the first place. This was not just journalism. A peer-reviewed study published in the journal Science examined a set of voluntary REDD+ projects across multiple countries. It found that most did not produce the climate benefits claimed, and that the real reductions were dramatically lower than what had been certified and sold. When independent scientists measured what actually happened on the ground, the gap between promise and reality was enormous. Then the story got worse. In 2024, Brazilian federal police carried out an operation against several carbon projects in the Amazon, alleging they were entangled with illegal logging and land grabbing, in some cases on protected public land. Some of these were among the largest projects of their kind. The very mechanism meant to protect forests was, according to investigators, being used as a cover to exploit them. And the buyers caught up in the broader wave of scandals read like a list of household names. Major corporations across entertainment, fashion, technology, and energy had purchased credits from projects that were later questioned, suspended, or cancelled. For companies that had built marketing campaigns around being carbon neutral, the reputational damage was real. Being accused of greenwashing after spending millions trying to do the opposite is the worst possible outcome. So what does all of this mean for a business buying offsets today? It does not mean offsets are useless. Reforestation and forest protection remain genuinely important tools for funding climate action. What it means is that the era of blind trust is over. You can no longer assume a credit is sound simply because it carries a certificate. You have to look underneath it. So here is your checklist. 7 things to demand before you spend a single pound on carbon credits. Number 1. Be extremely cautious with pure avoided deforestation credits. Because they depend on predicting an imaginary future, they have proven to be the least reliable category. If a project's entire claim rests on what might have happened, treat it with skepticism. Number 2. Favour removal over avoidance. There is a meaningful difference between paying someone not to cut down a tree and actually putting new carbon-absorbing trees into the ground. Real tree planting on degraded land creates something measurable that did not exist before. You can count it. You can watch it grow. Number 3. Demand additionality you can verify. The core question is always the same. Would this have happened without your money? Good projects can show that the land was genuinely degraded or deforested and would not have recovered on its own. They are not taking credit for nature that was never at risk. Number 4. Insist on permanence backed by people. A tree only stores carbon while it stands. The strongest protection against a forest being burned or quietly logged is a local community that depends on it economically. When the farmers who plant the trees also earn their livelihood from keeping them alive, they have every reason to protect them for decades. That is far more durable than a distant promise on paper. Number 5. Require real, ongoing measurement. This is the heart of the whole problem. Most failed credits were based on estimates and models, not observation. Today, that excuse no longer holds. Satellite monitoring can track a forest's canopy growth, density, and health year after year. If a provider cannot show you observed data that the trees are actually there and actually growing, you have no reason to believe their numbers. Number 6. Look for individual traceability. The best projects can tell you where your specific contribution went. Not a vague share of a giant fund, but trees you can locate, certified individually, with a clear record. Traceability makes fraud far harder to hide. Number 7. Check who actually does the work. Projects that operate directly with local farming communities, rather than routing money through layers of intermediaries, tend to deliver more of your money to the ground and create stronger local accountability. This is exactly the standard that Evertreen was built around. Trees are planted directly with local farming communities on verified degraded land, so the people protecting the forest are the people who depend on it. Each tree is certified individually, so your impact is traceable. And every project is monitored by satellite, so you can see real growth data over time rather than trusting a static report. It is reforestation designed for a world that has learned, the hard way, not to take carbon claims on faith. The carbon market earned its skepticism honestly. The scandals were real, the failures were serious, and the scrutiny is deserved. But the answer is not to abandon offsetting altogether. That would simply mean less money flowing to genuine reforestation at the exact moment the planet needs more. The answer is to become a smarter buyer. Use the checklist. Ask the hard questions. And only pay for carbon you can actually prove. If this was useful, subscribe. We break down carbon, climate, and sustainability honestly, with no greenwashing and no spin. Because in this market, the only offset worth buying is one you can verify.